Okay, let me just practice what I preach. I'm going to silence my cell phone. Alrighty. Good evening, everyone. We are on the record. Today is Wednesday, the 8th day of February in the year 2023. This is a regular meeting of the Jersey City Municipal Council. We had a scheduled 6 p.m. start. The clock on my cell phone is showing 6:05 p.m. May I have a roll call for the commencement of this meeting? Councilperson Ridley.
Here.
Councilperson Prinzeri.
Here.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Here.
Councilperson Saleh.
Here.
Councilperson Solomon.
Here.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Present.
Councilperson DeGise. And Council President Pro Temp Rivera.
Here.
Council President Waterman will be absent for the entirety of the meeting. So we have 8 council members in attendance at 6:05 p.m. Can we kindly rise for a moment of silence, please?
Luz Hernandez.
Let's kindly remain standing as we salute the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. The republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. On behalf of Council President Pro Temp Rivera, in accordance with the New Jersey Public Laws of 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the posting on the bulletin board of the first floor of City Hall, the annual notice, which is the schedule of meetings and caucuses of the Municipal Council for the calendar year 2023, and filed in the office of the City Clerk on Thursday, December 15th, 2022. In addition, at its time of its preparation, the agenda of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Friday, February 3rd, 2023 at 4:55 p.m. to the Municipal Council, Mayor, Business Administrator, Corporation Council, and the local newspapers, and posted on the city's website, so I can certify as to our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. Council members, before we move on, I just want to call on to our Business Administrator, John Metro. He has a couple of announcements.
Yep, Council, I just, for 2 items for tonight, 4.1, which is a second reading. We're still working with the planning board on making sure we get the resolution done and that any amendments that we spoke about, we've done. So we're going to carry that one. And our intentions are to also withdraw 10.35 Class 5 cannabis license with the community engagement that we've been discussing with the council, as well as pending legal appeal. So we'll be bringing that back to council at a later date.
So council members, when we get to the second reading ordinances, I will just need a motion from one of you and a second to carry the second reading ordinance to the next city council meeting. With that being said, we're going to go on to our first reading ordinances. Item 3.1 has been withdrawn. I just want to confirm that with the business administrator that it was withdrawn. We're working on that with the councilperson Saleh to make adjustments and work with the rest of the municipal council.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Appreciate that. Not trying to take anyone's thunder. All right. Item 3.2, City Ordinance 23-009 is an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a deed from Parks at VL South LLC affecting Block 6005, Lot 2, also known as the Gateway Park, and Block 6902, Lot 16, also known as the Van Leer South Park. Item 3.3, City Ordinance 23-010 is an ordinance authorizing the sale of easements to Farklings Partners LLC affecting real property owned by the City of Jersey City, known as Lot 1, Block 7001, as shown on the official tax map of the Township of Fairfield. Item 3.4, City Ordinance 23-011, an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 9, parking for the disabled of the Jersey City Code, designated reserved parking space at various locations throughout the city. Item 3.5, City Ordinance 23-012 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3, Parking, Standing, Stopping, amending Section 332-31, Parking Restrictions for Street Cleaning Purposes on Morgan Street between Green Street and Marin Boulevard. Item 3.6, City Ordinance 23-013, an ordinance ratifying the renewal of a lease agreement with Liato Capital Urban Renewal Company, LLC, for the use of space building located at 4 Beacon Way, Jersey City. Item 3.7, City Ordinance 23-014, an ordinance ratifying the renewal of a lease agreement from Hardwood Corporation for the use of 36 parking spaces located at 808 Pravonia Avenue. And lastly, item 3.8, City Ordinance 23-015 is an ordinance ratifying the renewal of a lease agreement with Journal Square Urban Renewal Associates for the office space and kiosk located at 1 Journal Square Plaza. Council members, before I take a vote on items 3.2 through 3.8, with the exception of 3.1, which has been withdrawn, I see our attorney, John McKinney, is here to do a little explanation on a change that was made to one of the first reading ordinance. John?
Good evening, council. So for item number 3.3, at the caucus meeting, there was a little confusion because the title of the ordinance was a typo. It's been corrected in this agenda. It's for a company called Fair Kings Partners, LLC. The property is in the township of Fairfield. There already exists an easement on the property that was granted by the MUA. They paid $20,000 for that easement. They needed to expand it a little bit further for a roadway that connects to a development. They're paying us $10,000 for that. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Yes, John, so the expansion is what, it's a new project that's gonna go up?
No, so they got granted this original easement to basically just allow for a driveway to go over our aqueduct. They just needed like an additional 10 feet off of the side, and this was all done back in 2019. It just got missed, so they're correcting it and giving us additional funds in order for the additional drive space.
Motion to introduce.
You don't need to make a motion.
Motion, no motion. Okay.
No motion. Okay, no other questions. So council members are going to be taking the vote on items 3.2 through 3.8 with the exception of 3.1, which has been withdrawn. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye for introduction.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye for introduction.
Councilperson Bajano.
Aye for introduction.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye for introduction.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye for introduction.
Councilperson Gilmore. Councilperson DeGise.
Aye for introduction.
And Council President Pro Temp Rivera.
Aye.
Items 3.2 through 3.8 are approved 8-0 with Council President Waterman absent, and item 3.1 is withdrawn. Okay, council members, before we move forward with all the second reading ordinances, item 4.1, as the business administrator eloquently stated before in the beginning of the meeting, that we're looking to carry this ordinance to the next council meeting. So I have motion on the table to carry City Ordinance 22-103 to the February 23rd, 2023 Municipal Council meeting and have the clerk duly advertise the ordinance for a public hearing. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Oof. That is, I'm going to give that motion to Councilperson Bajano, and to be fair, I'll give the second to Councilperson Saleh.
Thank you.
On the motion to carry City Ordinance 22-103 to the February 23rd, 2023 Municipal Council meeting, and to have the clerk duly advertise the ordinance for a second reading for a public hearing, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise. And Council President Pro Tempore Rivera.
Aye.
Motion carries 8-0 with Council President Waterman absent to carry City Ordinance 22-103 to the February 23rd, 2023 Municipal Council meeting. Okay, next Our next second reading ordinance, item 4.2, City Ordinance 23-005 is an ordinance authorizing the acquisition of courthouse administration building property located at 595 Newark Avenue, Jersey City, New Jersey, from Hudson County for the use as a public park. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Laura Moss. I'm president of the Courthouse Park Advocacy Group, and I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of the residents in the Hilltop and Journal Square neighborhoods in support of Ordinance 23-005, item number 4.2. When this process was started in 2019 by myself and a number of like-minded residents, we always knew that building a park in the middle of Journal Square was a great idea. We never had to prove the why. Anybody traveling through Journal Square can see we have no green space, we have no public space, and we're pretty much under construction for the next 5 to 6 years. So we need something to look forward to. But the how is what we're talking about tonight. How do we make this happen? And that's another story. And like many a great idea formed in a large city with finite resources, the how turns out to be a bit of a long slog with lots of puzzle pieces to be found and obstacles to overcome. Luckily for us, we've had the support of the mayor and our councilman Baggiano to help us in this endeavor. And that has been followed by an active commitment of Director Patel in the Office of Infrastructure to keep the project, the Courthouse Park project, moving forward. We also have the support of the Jersey City Parks Coalition and the county executive. We know we're not at the finish line yet, and we'll be back here again because it's a very long process. But we urge the council to vote yes on Ordinance 23-05 because it's one of the biggest puzzle pieces in this endeavor, in the process to make Courthouse Park a reality and not just another great idea that didn't happen. So this is our one shot. Let's not blow it. Thank you very much.
There's still a public hearing on City Ordinance 22-005. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, and I see Gene Daly. Hey,
Oh, okay. I can't see the timer.
can't see it.
No. Oh, I'm sorry. There, now I can. I'm good, Sean. I'm good. Now it has to go either one way or the other. Oh, no, she's sitting fine, so now I can see it. I'm sorry. But yes, I'm in support of this park. I've long been saying that we should turn that property into a park. I know at some point I was very concerned that Mayor Fulop was going to sell it to his mega donors and to put some type of construction, big, tall, high rise, et cetera, because I saw that as the future, according to some of these statements that Mayor Fulop had made some time ago. This gravely concerned me. I wanted this, and I asked this, and I publicized that I want this area to be a park in Jersey City because we deserve it. I also have a name for it, but I'm not going to bring it up right now. But the point being is that once we acquire this, I do hope that we are going to have robust public commentary periods. There's theory and then there's reality. And oftentimes, as was missed recently in Exchange Place, and I urge you all to go down there and look at the embarrassment that you've created, not all of you, but that we do something that reflects the history of Jersey City. It is based on the Brennan Courthouse and some traditional structure versus these modern things that are ugly and serve no real purpose than to be, glorified corporate landscaping. We need to do this properly. We've made too many mistakes in this town, and I just ask that the public be given plenty of opportunity to speak and different ideas are presented versus being rejected because someone has a theory of how it should be. Thank you.
This is still a public hearing on City Ordinance 23-005. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
On.
Mia Skanga.
Ms. Ganga, can you just wait for a minute, please? If anyone wants to speak about this, if you guys can line up, behind the speaker here so that we don't have to keep on calling out. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Does that work? All right. I am
I mean, anybody who goes to Journal Square can see that the area is in desperate need of a park and area for their children. And I did go to one of the planning meetings and was really impressed with some of the choices. They all looked a little costly, but that's another story. I just have one quick question. Now, I see that the county is going to transfer the land, but the city covers the cost of demolishing 595 Newark Avenue and I guess any other structure in that area. What's the estimated cost on that?
For a quote that's about 6 months old, it's about $9 million.
$9 million? Okay, to
There's some,
demolish it?
There's some asbestos and other items that we have to deal with environmental.
Oh, okay. Because construction is so expensive, it doesn't take me by surprise. Because I think in the ordinance, I saw the word nominal amount. I thought, demolition is not going to be nominal. That's for sure. That's $9 million. So what's the budget for this park? Because I'm sure there's some infrastructure needs, and then I know it depends on which plan they pick out, but there must be a budget.
Mia, this is probably 4 or 5 years down the road, so you really can't say what the budget is going to be.
Well, they must have something in mind. It can't be open-ended like this, right?
Council members, if I may just answer the questions. So the nominal fee that you just referred to is just for the transfer of the property from the county over to the city,
Okay.
which is a $0 agreement just for the conveyance of the property. But for the actual demolition and the remediation, as the business administrator mentioned, we're estimating about a $9 million cost for now. And then we anticipate the construction cost of the park itself, once the property has been cleared and remediated, to be about $6 million. And in the city's last capital bond ordinance, we bonded for just shy of $15 million for this park specifically.
How much?
$15 million,
15.
which would cover the demolition, remediation, and the construction, all of those phases.
Oh, all right. So you've already bonded for this already?
Yes.
Wow. Oh, okay. Seems a little sudden. Now you're already starting to pay interest, right? You think you'd have waited until at least you paid the ordinance, you passed the ordinance. Okay, so you're saying you're looking at a $15 million budget per se. And how many acres is it?
Excuse me. Let's do this. Ask your questions and then they're going to answer your questions because you're being timed, Ms. Gang.
Yeah, I know. Oh,
Okay.
I got 50. Okay, last question. How many acres?
Yeah, it's just about 2 acres. I don't have it off the top of my head, but just about 2 acres. And we've been,
Thank you so much.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
And just for the record, Director, you just identify yourself for the record for the
Oh,
people
I'm
who don't
sorry.
know you at home and stuff.
yes, thank you. I'm Barka Patel. I'm the Director of Infrastructure for the city. We can provide more information via email to the community. on the park.
Wonderful. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mia. Okay, this is still a public hearing, sir? I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. If you can bring the mic up to you a little bit better, yeah.
Sure. Paul DiBranco, D-I, capital B as in boy, R-A-N-C-O. I'm here to urge you to vote in favor of ordinance 23-05, authorizing acquisition of the property comprising the old administration building for the purpose of establishing a park. Having grown up in the area surrounding the courthouse, I knew the hardship of living without the benefit of green areas or open space. But with the building of thousands of new units of housing in the Journal Square area, the establishment of what would be the neighborhood's first real park has become nothing less than an imperative. Let's not let another generation of children and adults suffer without an adequate park. Jersey City aspires to be a great city. Great cities need world-class parks, and the Courthouse Park project has that kind of potential. Let's not miss this opportunity. A first-rate park in the developing Journal Square area would be a wonderful public asset. Combined with the Pompidou and the restoration of the Lowe's Theater, the park would add great value not only to Journal Square, but to the entire city. By approving ordinance 23-005, we can take a huge step toward a greener, brighter future for the residents of Jersey City. Okay. Now, I also want to comment about what was mentioned about money here, because in a meeting with Mr. Gigis that Rich and Laura Moss attended, okay, now I know these things vary, but with inflation that we've seen, for instance, about the Lowe's Theater went from 20 million, 40 million, 75 million. They estimated 14.5 million because of the asbestos and everything. And that's why I was kind of shocked when we attended the first meeting. They said the total budget was 15 million. So, I mean, I'd already used up my questions then, so I couldn't comment on it anymore, but it sounded tight, and I don't know. I mean, so I just bring that up because that's what they estimated then. And that's why they wanted to sell 1/3 of the land area to build a building there to pay for the demolition. But we fought that and overcame that, thank God. The second thing I want to say briefly is about Newark Avenue, because if you're going to build a world-class park, you don't want to be surrounded by some ugly high rises or whatever the heck, and taking away all of the sunshine and everything like that. I think we should get with the planning department to try to do something about preserving a lot of the charming neighborhood there, especially if you're going to have a park. And, I mean, people don't, if you want to become a great city, people don't come to see rectangular blocks of residential housing. Okay, they go to old Eastern Europe to see that. They come to see parks and public assets and things like that. So let's understand the real value here of having a park like that, as opposed to just a quick short-term profit made on, ratables, and I know we need them and all of that sort of thing. So just those two things about the budget and about Newark Avenue and how it should be preserved. Thank you very much. Please approve the ordinance.
Okay, still a public hearing.
Good evening. My name is Olga Leticia Villalon Soler. Do you need me to spell that?
Please.
VILLALON-SOLER. I am a member of both the Journal Square Community Association Board and the Courthouse Park Advocacy Group Board, and a very proud resident of the Journal Square area. I am, first of all, going to thank you because you've started something here for the residents of Journal Square with the authorization of the bond in order to make the possibility of the demolition and the acquisition of the building and the acquisition of the land. And also Director Barka Patel, because she's been really good about helping us understand the process and thank you, and understand what is within the purview of the city to do and the steps that we need to get there. But I really want to thank you, and I hope that you will vote unanimously, heartily for ordinance 23005, because one of the hardest things to do in the space of politics is to reclaim open space. And it's obviously something that the neighborhood has needed for so long. And I believe this is the year of open space. Am I correct? So it's time to do this. Thank you.
Okay, this is still a public hearing on ordinance 23-005. Any other member wishing to be heard of the public, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Motion to close the public hearing on city ordinance 23-005 was made by Councilperson Saleh. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Baggiano.
Yes.
Yep. On the motion to close the public hearing on city ordinance 23-005, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise. And Council President Pro Temp Rivera.
Aye.
Motion carries 8-0 with Council President Waterman absent to close the public hearing on city ordinance 23-005. For final consideration and adoption of city ordinance 23-005, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano.
I'm going to say aye, but I have something to say. This will be the largest green space added towards sea in a long, long time. And I want to thank John McKinney from legal, Barker Patel from infrastructure, Paul Russo from traffic, and the residents from Courthouse Conservancy, especially Laura Moss, who's worked hard on this. Also, I want to thank Mira Prince Airy, who attended the meetings on this park. This is a project where the community and the city council are working together. This is how it should be done in a lot of matters. So I vote aye.
Thank you. Councilperson Saleh.
I vote aye. Good job, Rich. Good job, team. Good job, neighborhood.
Councilperson Solomon.
I vote aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
I vote aye, but, I will, say I am a bit concerned at the rate in which the price is changed. I haven't been privy to those conversations that, the county executive and Rich and them were a part of when the initial rate was in or around 12 million, but we do know it's around 15, but, for now. So I just want to, just be cautious around that with the cost of living drastically rising in the city for residents. I think it's a great idea. I used to live in that area and I was always perplexed as to why wasn't a park up there in the first place. So I vote aye.
Councilperson DeGise.
Vote aye and looking very much forward to having a park in that area.
And Council President Pro Temp Rivera.
I vote aye. Great job.
Okay. City Ordinance 23-005 is finally adopted 8-0 with Council President Waterman absent. Okay, on to our next second reading ordinance, item 4.3, City Ordinance 23-006 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Traffic Regulations, Section 332-9, Stop Intersections to designate Manley Avenue and Lexington Avenue as multi-way stop control intersection. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Hi, good evening. My name is Lizette Murray, and I am the president of the Lexington Avenue Block Association. I want to thank
Lizette.
Mira
Lizette, your last name Murray?
Murray, M-U-R-R-A-Y.
M-U. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'd like to say thank you to Mira Prinzeri for bringing this issue up. It's a very important issue to our neighbors and our community. That is a very heavy intersection where we have children that actually wait for the school buses in the morning and they have to cross that intersection and people just do not stop. In my personal opinion, I really wish that we could have gotten a traffic light instead, but I understand budgeting is an issue. And we're hoping that the four-way stop sign will help mitigate some of that traffic there, and that in the future we'll have more traffic studies to see if a traffic light is designated there at some point in the future. But I'm hoping that you guys pass that. It's very important for us and our children and our community. Thank you.
Thank you. This is still a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Sure. My name is Kurt Sowie.
Okay, Kurt. Can you spell your last name?
Or S-A-E-U-I.
Okay, thank you, Kurt.
Almost all the vowels. So my name is Kurt Sowie. I'm a resident of Ward B. I'm also a member of the Lexington Avenue Neighborhood Association. Thank you, Lizette, also for speaking out on this. Just wanted to speak out on the designation of Mallory Avenue in Lexington being a four-way stop control intersection. For anyone not familiar with this area, it serves as an extremely busy school bus pickup location for multiple schools in the area. This intersection also sits 2 blocks away from Municipal Avenue, which feeds into the 19 and 440. During rush hour, drivers often run stoplights, roll through pedestrian crosswalks, and speed through neighborhoods. Parents have shared stories with me and at our neighborhood meetings about drivers that simply just won't stop at these intersections. They have to literally put themselves in physical danger to cross the intersection. As you can imagine, mixing dozens of school children in this scenario is extremely dangerous. A lot of parents have expressed to me it's not a matter of if, but when something terrible happens here. A child being struck by a car, a parent being hit, all the above. And just weeks ago, a child was struck by a vehicle near PS 17, and a week before that, a driver ran over a child's foot in a hit and run on Pavonia Avenue. These incidents are avoidable, and I'm asking that the council members here support this ordinance and continue to work towards pedestrian safety improvements across the city. After all, this is just one intersection across in the city, and there's multiple events, just over this past year that kind of add to this. I want to thank Councilmember Prince Airy for working with the Transportation Planning Office to quickly get this on the agenda. I also wanted to thank Directors Mike Manzella and Tanya Marion for helping us work towards these improvements. And last thing, I just want to thank all the members of the community who shared their stories and their concerns during the neighborhood meetings. I hope that this passes and that we can work quickly towards installing these much needed improvements at Lexington and Mallory. Thank you.
Very much. Okay, this is still a public hearing on City Ordinance 23-006. Any member of the public still wish to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Okay.
Oh,
Wait. Are you speaking on the ordinance, sir?
oh,
Come on up.
My name is Monia Reidiboym, Reidiboym. I'm talking about intersection Montgomery and Washington Street.
Sir,
this is,
it has to be within this ordinance. We're not speaking about that
Okay,
ordinance.
I'm sorry.
that's okay. That's okay. Okay. Last call on the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-006. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
motion.
Motion made by Councilperson Saleh, and I did hear a second by Councilperson Baggiano to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-006. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prince Airy.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
And Council President Pro Temp Rivera.
Aye.
Motion carries 8-0 with Council President Waterman absent to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-006 for final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 23-006. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prince Airy.
I want to thank Kurt Selway and Lizette and all the other members of the Lexington Avenue Neighborhood Association for working with my office and for our departments of traffic and planning to get this done. It's no surprise that this was ruled an intersection in need of a stoplight. Because of the cost, we were not able to put it in the capital budget for last year, but we will be looking to put it in for this year with hopes that it will be implemented within the next year. But in the meantime, we will be doing the four-way directional stop. And there's also been a request to put the rapid flashing beacons in there just to let you guys know this is coming. But again, this is what good partnerships look like. So thank you. And I vote aye.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
I want to thank Councilwoman Mira Prinzeri for bringing this forward. And, this is really good that we're making our streets safer. I want to thank the residents who cared enough to come out and advocate on behalf of this. And it's not just for you guys, but the entire community that's over there and anyone that crosses that street. And with that, I vote aye.
Excuse me, Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise.
Aye. Very nice work, Councilwoman. I know you worked very hard on this.
And Council President Pro Temp Rivera.
Aye.
City Ordinance 23-006 is finally adopted 8-0 with Council President Waterman absent. On to our last second reading ordinance, item 4.4, City Ordinance 23-007 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3, Parking, Standing, and Stopping, amending Section 332-31, Parking Restrictions for street cleaning purposes in Gulls Cove, on Marin Boulevard, St. Peter's Street, Morris Street, and Sussex Street. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Council President Pro Temp Rivera to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-007 and seconded by Councilperson Baggiano.
Yes.
On the motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-007, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore. Councilperson DeJeece.
Aye.
And Council President Pro Temp Rivera.
Aye.
Motion carries 8-0 with President Waterman absent to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-007. For final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 23-007, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeJeece.
Aye.
And Council President Pro Temp Rivera.
Aye.
City Ordinance 23-007 is finally adopted 8-0 with Council President Waterman absent. Okay, council members, we are now moving on to our public request for a hearing. I will be stating the first name of the individual, and please pay attention and follow along with your agenda and calling the number so I don't butcher anybody's name. On that, 5.1, we have Laverne.
Good evening, council. I have a serious problem that I need your attention about our school children. One of my crossing guards, she's not here tonight. About 3 weeks ago, she ran into a young lady, 14 years old, out in Greenville. She asked her why was she out of school? And she said, because I was smoking vapor. She said, well, what else was you smoking? She said, weed. She said, we smoking in the classrooms. We have to do something. Teachers can't fight this by themselves. We need some work done with our children. I mentioned to you all about these smoke shops, seeing our young kids, young as 10 and 12, buying vapors and weed from these smoke shops in my community. We have to do something. We have police, I see on the avenues in different areas. They need to be standing by some of these smoke shops. They need to check some of these smoke shops. This is damaging young people's brain. Bad enough they're not learning in our schools like they should. Everybody, parent can't do all what they need to do because they are working. We need to work with them. And a lot of people, I see my group here tonight about housing. I have 5 people called me this week. Section 8 is putting pressure on people when housing code is not up to standard. I have a young lady can't go to the 3rd floor. She was supposed to be here tonight, but she couldn't make it. And there's a house they want to put on MLK where that shooting was, right between Bidwell and right there by Sacred Heart. She refused to go in there because she can't move around that good. She's not an old person. She has a handicap. We have to get somebody down here to answer these phones that can help these people. Just like the young lady here, our councilman Gilmore is helping her out about her job, her retirement. And we need to set up something stronger and better. It's a need out there in that community that we're not reaching. We're not reaching. The jobs, the schools, the housing, the parents working 2 and 3 jobs. The phone calls I get, I don't have no place down. Right now, I have a woman I have to go get and take to a program. The program I'm taking to is God's House for Prayer. She's not even my color. It ain't about skin color. And this lady works and has a good job at a college. She reached out to me. She said, pray for me, Laverne. There's a prayer meeting going tonight. I'm about 5 minutes late. Going to pick her up to take her to a prayer meeting. People, we need help. God bless you. I gotta go.
Yep. Okay. Our next speaker, 5.2, Robert. I don't see Mr. Knapp. Next, Mia Skanga, 5.3. Mia?
here to speak on behalf of the.
Mayor, make sure the mic is by you.
Okay. Mia Skanga, good evening. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Right to Counsel. I looked up before I came here about the New York City program. And it's been around, I think, for about a year and a half or so. And they provide free legal counsel for tenants who are facing eviction. And they have an 84% success rate, which is astronomical. In the area where I live, I have met so many tenants where the landlord says that they never received the rent checks. That happened to me as well. And so then they try to evict them, okay? And then for a while, they wanted to charge you 3% for an ACH payment, which costs about 50 cents, 3% of your rent for them to take it out of your checking account. That went by the boards as well. So, but there's so many people in the city where English is not their primary language. So it's very intimidating and it's expensive to hire an attorney. So you have a lot of innocent people who are being evicted. And I think with Jersey City having such high rents now and being noted in the national press, that it's really imperative for the city to institute this right to counsel for tenants before they get evicted. Because I have seen some horrific living conditions in these various buildings up, in that whole west side area. I can't even believe that people live like that. And landlords who really basically do nothing and look for any excuse to get you evicted. And then, of course, a lot of them, the intent is then to gut the apartment and, jack up the rent 100, 150%, whatever they can get to market. So that's their intent. So they do very little as possible. But a lot of these people just don't know what their rights are. And it's important for the city to protect them. So I really think you need to model a program after the city of New York and get the same success that they're having. And also they distribute flyers in 18 different languages. I printed one out in Spanish to get the word out, and people can call 311 once they have an eviction notice in hand. And I really do think Jersey City's got to do the same thing. Absolutely. Although you have to protect your middle and working class people, and especially a lot of people.
That's taking up your time.
Sorry. Okay. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, when we call up the speakers, we don't mind you clapping after they speak, after they actually complete their statement, because if you speak during their statement, you are interrupting their time and the time is running out. Just wanted to let you guys know that, okay? With that being said, the next speaker, 5.4, Kurt, say you. John? Thank you. Next, 5.5, Brian Markey.
Good evening, council. My name is Brian Markey. I'm here representing my business at 190 Newark Avenue. We are a Class 5 marijuana dispensary in the process of opening up. I just wanted to speak on the caucus meeting that went on a few days ago and things that were said about 23-110.35. I know it was tabled, but I do want to make a couple of comments on what was brought up about their application. With all due respect, Councilman Solomon, I do want to state that that applicant actually sued the Cannabis Control Board, and it was remanded back to the Cannabis Control Board by a judge. In no way did the judge say to approve them. They were supposed to have another hearing. And for you to sit there, like I said, all due respect, and tell your council members here to have them go out and write a letter to them to find local support is not your purview. That is not your job. You're not the Cannabis Control Board. They have a lawyer. You guys gave them a lawyer. All the questions that you asked are fair, and you guys are right. You should not have to be here and deliberate anything. They should present you already with exactly what needs to be done with the city. That means following all the laws and checking all those dots, which they have everything in front of them. They have an ordinance 21-053, which explains everything. Everything, including separation distances, location maximums, everything. Now, the SID, which you should call them the Special Improvement District, and in this case, the historic Downtown Special Improvement District, is a 501c3. They have no legal bearing on anything. So to tell the council to go and send a letter to the applicant saying, go find support, is the exact reason why the judge overturned, sent it back to the CCB board, because they said that support from an SID and the businesses around them is capricious and arbitrary and has nothing to do with the law. 21-053, separation distance, all cannabis establishments, class 5, are subject to 600 feet apart. It is in black and white, and 21-053 was written before the Cannabis Control Board was created. Thank you very much.
Frank Robertson.
Okay, our next speaker, 5.6. Frank, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I am here also as a citizen of Jersey City for the Cannabis Control Board for all of the applicants. Again, as he just said, Brian, 21-53 was written by this council for the CCB board. And the CCB board is the governing body of control of the 21-05. Your 21-003 is for them to actually report to you guys. And as Councilwoman Ridley said, it shouldn't be your job to actually fix what they're supposed to do. So 10.34 and 10.35 on the agenda today cannot and must not be approved, because you must enforce your law. Law is in black and white. There's no gray. On there it says 600 feet. And also, when it says it should be 2 on the block, if you go to North Avenue, there's 3. Your law says 600 feet and 2 on the block. So, and 1 must be a micro business. So when you guys have the CCB, I've been to the CCB board, Councilman Gilman was there when I told them the same thing. I told them this in September and November, that they must follow the ordinance 21-053 D, Section C, which states you must be 600 feet. It's in black and white. This is a country of law. Am I right? I'm a United States veteran, and I should tell you, any way that it goes, I don't know, Solomon, Councilman Solomon, I told you in September that it was 600 feet. You guys wrote the law. You must enforce the law.
Thank you. Before I call our next speaker, Commissioner Romano signed up before the meeting started, and the Council President Pro Temp Rivera would like to give the election official courtesy to Commissioner Romano to speak now. So Commissioner Romano, if we can call you up to the podium.
Thank you for the consideration, and good evening to my fellow elected officials. who have a big agenda tonight, so I'm not going to take much of your time. I just want to read something quick that I sent to Director Sharon Richardson. I serve as Hudson County Commissioner representing District 5, which includes the buildings located in Jersey City at 100 Warren Street and 155 Washington Street, also known as Portside West and East Towers, respectively. For more than a year, the tenants of Portside Towers have been fighting large rent increases of up to 40%, much higher than the single-digit percent increases allowed by the Jersey City rent control law. The tenants of Portside Towers believe the buildings in which they reside fall under Jersey City's rent control limits. I agree with them and urge Jersey City to enforce its rent control law under Chapter 260 of the Municipal Code so that the residents of both the Portside West and East buildings are not subjected to exorbitant and unlawful rent increases. The tenants of Portside Towers have demonstrated that the previous owners of the buildings have failed to meet the statutory filing requirements for an exemption claim from the local rent control board. Chapter 266C delineates the requirements of the statutory exemption. This exemption applies only where an owner complied with all requirements contained in NJSA 2A 42-84, Section 1, including the filing with the municipal construction official required by NJS 2A 42-84, Section 4, and the service of a written statement upon the tenant required by NJS 2A 42-84, Section 3. The tenants have demonstrated there was no timely filing with the municipal construction official for either of the buildings. Such a filing for an exemption from rent control must be made at least 30 days prior to the completion of all building construction, a date which was established with the building's issuance of the permanent certificates of occupancy in 1992 for the West Tower and 1997 for the East Tower. The tenants have also demonstrated that the required service of written statement upon the tenants has not satisfied the statute's notice requirements. In the absence of clear evidence that any owner of Portside Towers has complied with the statutory requirements for a newly constructed multiple dwelling, a city-granted exemption to rent control would not have a lawful basis. I therefore urge you to immediately enforce the city's rent control law to protect the tenants of Portside Towers. Very truly, Anthony L. Romano. Thank you for your time, and hopefully we can work here so that there's a balance and a fairness to these tenants. And as elected officials, we can hear their cries for help. Thank you all. God bless Jersey City and Hudson County. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Our next speaker, 5.7, Lizette Murray. Lizette? She left? Okay, thank you. My council members are also my eyes, long distance eyes. Speaker 5.8, Laura Moss. She left too. Thank you. And members of the public are also helping. I like that. Next, 5.9, Jean Daly. No, I see her.
Yeah, good evening. Yes, this is Jean Daly. There's so much wrong with all these resolutions and ones were withdrawn, et cetera, that we really need to go back to our 5-minute commentary period. You guys jam so much in the way of ordinances and resolutions that we, the public, are being stifled because you moved the speaking time from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. How dare you stifle public comment? I would also like to say that you're telling me you cannot afford a traffic stoplight? Well, why don't you look at the resolutions where you're reappropriating money? $325,000 from safety, $325,000 from the parks, and you're telling me you cannot afford a traffic light? This is disgusting. It's a disgrace, and you guys should be held accountable for what's going on in this city. You should be hiring the people who work for the parks instead of giving away $325,000 back to the administration. For what? More abuse? Now, I would like to say that I attended the planning board meeting last night, and they had a very strong discussion about points on the map of the cannabis thing. They were stating that the whole point in Jersey City was to allow minorities, people of color, to have some type of preferential treatment when it comes to getting these cannabis license. They also stated that if someone has money or big money, they can get to that end location first. So we are now prejudicing ourselves against our own minorities. That is ridiculous. So this whole idea that someone puts, a pin in the board is prejudicial and unfair. And I will speak to one of the persons who did get their license first going on Newark Avenue, happen to be billionaires from Florida. They're not minorities. The other co-partner is some millionaire girl from New Jersey, South Jersey. They got their first. They also got a letter of endorsements from our darling mayor, Stephen Fulop. And so you got the billionaire, and then they had no connection to Jersey City until the little minor partner, whose parents own the manufacturing company who makes My Pillows, donated pillows to the York Street Project and St. Lucy's. What kind of joke is this?
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.10, John Kilroy. Thank you. Next speaker, 5.11, Pilanda Glover.
Good evening, Council. So I'm Pilanda Glover, citizen of Jersey City, and I'm here on behalf of Local Motive LLC. And my nonprofit is Save a Few. And I just wanted to say a little bit about my nonprofit and how Chelsea Duffy has been instrumental with my programs, the workshops. So we collaborate with 34 schools, the library, Earl Morgan Library, 20 school, and some of the programs we have safety of social media. We just, some of the kids of my program, we went to Paris with Chinese sustainable fashion, and just getting these kids out of the environment. These programs are needed, and Chelsea has been very instrumental with helping and supporting me. And I just look forward that we can do more together, collaborating together. We can do more together. United we stand, divided we fall. So collaborations are important. Chelsea, the kids love her. And again, I look forward to collaborating with you guys and other nonprofits in Jersey City. And it's about our kids. It's not about me. It's about these kids getting what's needed for them, because these programs are needed, and just a safe haven for them. And the violence and everything is the gun killing and all of that. So I can't save them all, but I can start by saving a few. Again, have a good evening.
Our next speaker, 5.12, Kim Nieves.
Good evening. Good evening, Council President Pro Temp Rivera and other members of the City Council. My name is Kim Nieves. I am speaking here tonight as a resident employee and as First Vice President of Local Union 246 on behalf of our members affected by the ongoing payroll debacle. I am also presenting myself as a regular schmegular person. Our members affected all have families, bills, like all of us. They are fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers, trying to survive like everybody else. They're working to be paid wages. I'm going to make my statement short and to the point. It's been at least 4 pay cycles that many of our members have not been paid their full compensation, have had incorrect deductions taken from their pay, and have even had unauthorized deductions taken for voluntary insurance. They have further been threatened when making inquiries to payroll. These are among the issues I am here to address. Simply put, it is unfair and remains a clear violation of labor laws. I am respectfully asking the city to prioritize making everyone affected whole immediately without fear of retaliation. Let's get everybody paid. Thank you for your courtesies and consideration.
Thank you. Okay, our next speaker, 5.13, Patricia Waiters. Not here, thank you. Next, 5.14, Christina Menzi. Christina? She's not here, thank you. Next, 5.15, Candace Walker. Candace, no? Okay. Next speaker, 5.16, Etan Stern Weber.
Hi, my name is Eitan Stern Weber. I know the spelling doesn't help. It's fine. So when we talk about politics, there's always the question of what's our breaking point? Whether it's climate change, gun violence, domestic terrorism, whatever it may be, we have to decide for ourselves when things have simply gone too far and need to be stopped. So I'm asking the council this. What's your breaking point when it comes to your colleagues? What would one of your fellow council members have to have done for you to say that they should no longer hold office? If someone gets a ticket for driving through a stop sign, that's probably not going to make you put your foot down, and for good reason. But what if they were making double a six-figure salary and still using public resources meant for Jersey City residents struggling financially? Would that be enough? What if a lawmaker had tried to use their office to escape punishment for breaking laws? Would that be enough? What if someone who is in this room for the sole purpose of helping their constituents actually struck one of those constituents with their car? And what if they didn't even care enough to see if the person was okay? Would that be enough? And what if they'd committed vehicular homicide? And I say that because, just to be very clear, the only difference between Councilperson DeJesus hit and run and vehicular homicide was sheer luck. That biker was lucky he wasn't a few inches back, so that instead of being completely flipped over to the side of the car, he wasn't thrown in front of it, which would have meant him getting run over. He's lucky that when he flipped, he didn't land on his head or neck. And we always have to remember that at the time of the collision, Councilmember DeJesus didn't know whether or not she had killed someone, and she still drove away. So I'm seriously asking you all, isn't that enough? The people have spoken adamantly about how this behavior and this person don't represent us, but obviously the will of the people who elected her isn't a good enough motive for her to listen. So it's up to you, the members of the council. Our voices are falling on deaf ears. So to actually be heard, we need your voices. We need you to do what we elected you to do and represent our interests in this government. So for the integrity of this council, of Jersey City, and the democratic process, please say what needs to be said. Say that this is your breaking point. Say that Jersey City and the office of council member mean more than that. Say that you've had enough. Thank you for your time.
Next speaker, 5.17, Tricia Adams.
Good evening, Council. I'm Attorney Tisha Adams, and I represent Brian Markey of Golden Greens LLC. And I'm here today with respect to Resolution 23-100. And I'm here to urge the Council not to vote in favor of the authorization of the issuance of the resolution providing local support for Local Motive LLC to operate a Class 5 cannabis business. A Locomotive LLC's location at 155 North Avenue is less than 600 feet from Garden Greens LLC, which violates the Jersey City Municipal Ordinance 21-053, the Article 5 zoning and design standards. And Locomotive LLC is located exactly 529.96 feet from Garden Greens. And Garden Greens has retained a licensed professional land surveyor, and they measured from between the front doors of both the establishments and provided written documentation to the city of Jersey City with respect to those results, which were completed on January 20th, 2023. Now, the Jersey City Division of Commerce the Cannabis Control Board, and the City Council has received written notice from Garden Greens that Locomotive LLC is less than 600 feet from Garden Greens LLC. And on approximately Friday, January 20th, 2023 at 2 p.m., 3 days before the CCB approved the resolution of Locomotive LLC, a letter from that professional land surveyor was hand-delivered to the office of Mr. Maynard Woodson, the director of the Jersey City Division of Commerce, placing it on notice that Locomotive LLC was less than 600 feet from Garden Greens. On Monday, January 23rd, 2023, at approximately 10:19 a.m., Mr. Markley, the owner and the CEO, of Garden Greens LLC, sent an email to the Division of Commerce to the attention of Director Woodson, requesting that Woodson present the attached applicable subsection of the municipal ordinance and the letter addressing the violation of the ordinance and a letter from the land surveyor to the Cannabis Control Board and attorney Ron Mondello. On February 7th, 2023 at 1:29 p.m., Mr. Markey of Garden Greens forwarded an email to the Division of Commerce, members of the Cannabis Control Board, members of the City Council, advising that Locomotive LLC was less than 600 feet. So if the City Council approves the Cannabis Control Board resolution in support of Locomotive LLC, it is very, very likely that Garden Greens
Thank you.
will actually file a suit against the
Thank you, Ms.
CCB
Adams.
Board and the City Council.
Thank you, Ms.
for
Adams. Your
failing
time
to
is up.
enforce its order.
Thank you.
And
Thank
we're
you.
also
Ms. Adams, your time is up.
for
Your time is up, Ms. Adams.
to operate
Thank
within
you.
within this city.
Our next speaker, 5.18, Alex.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alexander Semeniu, and I'm tenant on the 100 Montgomery Street. I'm speaking today because I'm of 100 and soon 1,000 of tenants in Jersey City and standing them up. Management on our building is acting in bad faith to the tenants. We are facing to the same problem with our landlord across our building and across our city. And the city government is not on the other side of our tenants. They are not siding with the tenants who work for them. And I asked the Jersey City to create office of the right to the council. We need a place to the tenants where to go to get support. Even the languages, an office that follow the law. I provide a representation from all facing eviction and to affirm tenants' right. I still have a time. I know many people in the building when I live, and I've been living in Jersey City since 1997. I come from Ukraine. And since that time for now, I'm seeing a very big change for all this Jersey City. Some of them is good, some of them is not. But particularly in the building when I live, it's in 2002, it's a kind of mess. Mr. Solomon, I went to Mr. Solomon and he knows that problem, and I know many people from our building is coming here to resolve the problem. Many people in the building, they don't speak English well. Okay, I'm not that speaker too. Okay, but since the building was sold for the other owners, and we have a different management since 2014, it's a kind of mess. I can present all of you guys the place where we live. When we ask you to do some job as a maintenance of that building, as a management, what we got, you're not gonna believe. Mr. Solomon, you know it, and I send you emails and all kinds of stuff like this. I think this has to be stopped, actually, and that's why I'm here, and I want to listen. I mean, I want want you guys to hear, because we are resident of Jersey City. I have 3 kids. They all growing up in Jersey City. Went to the school, this and that. We vote for you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Sean,
Yes.
Sean, if you could readjust, all the speakers will keep looking at the clock like they don't have a clear visual of the clock. So if we can either, if the attorney.
I can actually move it a little closer. Okay. Our next speaker, 5.19, John Morales.
Good evening, everybody, council members. I want to express, I'm here for a friend of mine who's a Spanish-speaking person who lives in the Journal Square area who's getting verbally abused by her landlord, and including somebody who thinks they're a landlord, which they're not. They're not. She has a problem with dealing with fixtures that's got to be fixed in the apartment. They tell her they're going to be there tomorrow, and they don't do what they're supposed to do. They put always an excuse, I can't make it, I got something to do, and all that. And that's impossible. They fix everybody else's except hers, and all that. And that's not fair. She was going to plan to get evicted maybe about a year ago, 2 months before that. And you can't get nothing, no apartment 2 months ahead of time, because she's under Section 8. And all that, and that's not fair. If she's gonna think that she's a landlord and all that, and the super is gonna go to what you say, to what they say, that's wrong. And if the super's not gonna back up the landlord, why they're super for anyway? And all that. I wish there was something that we all can do. And if I'm looking to find a real estate that takes Section 8, that she can move out and she could stop there, she could have her problems resolved. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Take 1 second. Hold on.
Hold on.
Where does this person live?
This person lives at 9 Vroom Street, and the real estate is Vroom Realty LLC.
Vroom.
You said Vroom Street, correct?
Vroom Street, yeah, that's VRO.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Are we good, council? Okay. Our next speaker, 5.20, Jaden Hernandez.
Good evening. I would just like to start by prefacing this speech with saying that I am a Jersey City resident, born and raised. I have lived in Jersey City for my entire 22 years of life so far. And during this time, I've experienced a numerous amount of injustices surrounding the crisis around housing in Jersey City. I'm here today to share a testimony with you guys regarding a living condition with my foster family. Back in summer of last year, my foster family's mother actually was diagnosed with cervical cancer, and she was evicted and thrown onto the street with her kids as a single mother. As a result of this, she was actually still bouncing between houses and doesn't have anywhere to live because of that. And because of these different injustices, it propels a lot of the children to not pursue school, not decide to go to higher lengths with their education. And it puts us at a disadvantage when we are all trying to start our lives and we cannot do it in a system that imprisons people with things that we cannot have access to. And within my experience alone, when I was 17, I almost didn't graduate high school because of the housing crisis due to the raising rents. And I just seen this mantra being applied to so many other people, so many other lives being affected by this, that it just begs the question, how many people don't share their stories? How many people aren't strong enough to get up on a podium to share these painful experiences with you guys? We need justice for these people. These voices need to be heard. Not everyone has these assets to want to talk about these painful experiences they've been through. A majority of the people that I've compiled testimonies for don't even want to share because they feel like they're not even going to be heard. And I'm really just trying to make a systems for people to have access to these things that they need to survive. People need to be living in creation and not survival. We need to shift these mindsets about being more in love with the life that we have curated in Jersey City, as opposed to what we are trying to expel out of our living. We can't continue these different systems that have been shown that aren't working for us. People are right now, good, hardworking people raising children are on the streets due to the fact that there's just nowhere for them to go. People diagnosed with terminal illness should never be on the street, especially with kids. And this is only one testimony from people that I'm closely related to. However, the other individuals that I've experienced that do not want to share their story fear retaliation from their landlords, fear retaliation from the law, because it's been shown that if they speak up, they're going to get hurt. Or if they speak up, they're going to be retaliated against. And we need to change the way that this operates. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.21, John Acosta.
Pray peace for everyone that's here. Pray peace for all. My name is John Xavier Acosta, and I'm here representing RTC. On the way here, I was thinking about what I was going to say to you guys to have you understand how crucial this is. But I don't need any words. Just the people standing behind me, the people that are standing behind me are enough. Every single soul here is telling you that they need RTC, that it should be a human right. I live in a building where I have a landlord that posts up eviction notices on the front building door. That's intimidation to me, okay? And if I'm intimidated, right, by rent because I don't want to get evicted, I have to find another way to make the money so that I can continue to live in that building, correct? But what if I can't? I have a 3-year-old who I'm trying to supply a stable life for. But how am I supposed to supply her a stable life if I constantly have to move around because the rent is too high? And every time that I find somewhere where the rent is good enough, the next year they want to raise it up. No rent control. I'm going from paying $1,700 to this month on the 15th paying $2,600. Okay? This is absurd. You can't provide no stable life in Jersey City like this. Who's gonna be here? Who's gonna help run these businesses if everybody is gone? How are you gonna run these businesses if everybody's gone? If everybody's getting slapped with eviction notices for anything and everything? It doesn't matter if you're black, if you're white, if you're Hispanic. You get slapped with an eviction notice, it's done. And then you try to find an apartment after that, and then it's the most difficult thing you've ever done in your life because now you're being attacked by your mental health. Because you got to look for somewhere that's going to accept you being that you have an eviction under your record. We demand a RTC with universal coverage. All tenants in Jersey City deserve the right to counsel, regardless of income or any other status. Peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, 5.22, Lawrence Sneed. Excuse me. Lawrence, you're here, right?
Good evening.
Lawrence, just bring the mic. There you go.
Good.
Yep.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Lawrence Sneed. I support right to counsel for all Jersey City residents. So Tenants have legal representation in only about 3% of cases in housing court on average, as opposed to 81% of landlords. When represented through right to counsel programs, tenants are much more likely to stay in their homes, as much as 41%, because lawyers can help tenants identify available defenses and resources like rental assistance programs. Homeowners are supporting the cause too. No homeowner wants their neighbors kicked out on the street while corporate developers tear up and build up our city thanks to incentives and tax breaks. Also, the other day, if you Google New York Times article talking about the most expensive city in the country, it's Jersey City. I don't know if that's been mentioned. I'm repeating if so. What did y'all do? Right? So we demand a right to counsel with universal coverage. It's important that you do not means test this. This is for everybody. You will not split us apart. We demand an office here in Jersey City, funded by corporate developers that are currently not paying their fair share, as living conditions for longtime Jersey City residents are getting worse and luxury buildings continue to go up. The rent is too damn high. I went door to door in my own building and heard some issues. We all deserve the ability to negotiate in confidence, right? Our rights. We need to know our contracts. We need to be able to protect ourselves. I believe housing is a human right. Why are we out here doing this? Why is this conversation being had? We all deserve housing. This should not be the way it is, right? We all agree. We all need a house, Maslow's hierarchy of needs and all that good stuff. You need shelter. So let's just stop playing. Support right to counsel. I urge you all, please make this a reality as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.23, Adrian Guyana.
Good evening, council members. My name is Adrian Gainda, and I'm running for County Commissioner in District 2 of Hudson County because of everyone that's standing behind me. This is why tonight I can proudly come here and speak to advocate for the right to counsel movement and also to stand in solidarity with the Portside Towers Tenants Association. What we want is for tenants to have access to legal representation in any eviction. We want there to be funding for tenants advocacy and tenants education programs. With a proper right to counsel ordinance, other cities and states have seen the overall number of eviction filings drop by 30%. As much as 41% of tenants would be able to stay in their homes because lawyers can help these tenants get resources like rental assistance programs. Jersey City needs consistent rent control for all buildings because of how volatile market rate prices are to the people who live here. As I've said since I've come to council meetings since late 2020, there is an affordable housing crisis here in Jersey City. We have some of the most unaffordable rents across the country, and for that reason alone, we need both rent control for all buildings and a strong right to counsel. In 2020, 71% of residents living in Jersey City were cost burdened, paying 1/3 of their living wages towards their rent. I wouldn't be surprised if that number has increased since then. Rent increases that aren't regulated with any caps price out the very working class that Jersey City is failing by not having a right to counsel or consistency with rent control. Housing is a human right, and for many of the residents who saw their rents increase by as much as 30% and not having rent control that applies to all the buildings that are here in Jersey City, it's demonstrating to those very residents that there's, and others that have similar circumstances, that they don't belong here. I am here to advocate on behalf of all the amazing work the Right to Counsel campaign has done, spearheaded by North New Jersey DSA and their coalition partners. Having canvassed for right to counsel and talking to residents in the Heights, in West Side, in Greenville, in downtown, it's clear that we need a strong right to counsel now. Lastly, I'm here to let my fellow residents know that I will continue organizing with our great community to make sure that Jersey City and Hudson County is affordable to all. Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.24, Jake.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jake Efros. I'm a resident here in Jersey City Heights. By my day job, I'm a union organizer for healthcare workers, and I'm here on my personal capacity as a member of the North New Jersey DSA, as Adrian just mentioned, and as an organizer for the campaign for Right to Counsel here in Jersey City. And I organized for the Right to Counsel campaign in part because my rent went up this year, as so many others. And I want to make sure that it's our choice as residents and renters of this city, whether we get to stay or we have to make the decision to go somewhere else. It should be our choice to make this our home and stay and continue to live here, and not the choice of corporate developers. Last month, the Campaign for Right to Counsel here organized a tenants town hall with close to 100 attendees coming. Residents from Lafayette, West Side, Greenville, the Heights, downtown, Waterfront, Journal Square, all over the city came to share stories about what we're facing, issues that we're facing as tenants in the city. People who got priced out in New York and came to hopefully make a home here in Jersey City, but also many lifelong residents of Jersey City spoke out. Issues that I've heard just from that town hall last month and from months of knocking on doors and canvassing to push this campaign forward include residents facing poisonous mold in their buildings that their landlords are refusing to fix. Landlords falsely accusing tenants of missed and owed rent in the thousands of dollars and actually trying to take tenants to court for that reason. Not to mention the illegal rent hikes that are being faced by folks like the Portside tenants. And actually, does everyone remember how cold it was this past weekend? I was out canvassing and knocking on doors just this past weekend, and in a building, there were tenants with no heat, no hot water. Multiple tenants told me they were using their stoves to keep their apartment warm, and they had no way of contacting their landlord or property manager. They weren't doing anything about these issues. So this is why we are demanding a right to counsel, as others have said, that is universal for every single renter in Jersey City, that establishes an office permanently in our city, and that is funded and paid for by the corporate developers who are responsible for the housing crisis in our city. Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.25, Kevin.
Everyone. First, I stand with the Right to Counsel campaign. I believe it is truly necessary for all tenants of Jersey City if they are to have any hope of a lawful outcome. I want to take a moment to recognize a few of my observations about this elected council. Some of you have spent countless hours with us, and others I have no doubt would if we asked. The only words I have heard any of you say about our situation have been positive and supportive. I want to sincerely thank you for that. When I create a point of pressure up here, it is with the hope that it creates an opportunity for you to act, even when faced with pressure not to. We have heard encouraging words, and there is a possibility of a path forward, but we also hear from other city employees, one in this very building with a decade of experience, but not in this room currently, told me Chiron has no actual power. If we push too hard, he too will be replaced. Another told me all of the solutions will be slow walked until forever. Some former city employees have come forward too. Director Richardson, listen to this part. Only recently, I found out about exemptions Charles O'Day denied determinations by a former rent leveling administrator. I have one of those with me tonight. And then there was a new rent leveling administrator, Dinah Hendon, who reversed those extremely well-documented determinations. In at least one instance, with no evidence whatsoever, or perhaps with just an affidavit signed by the person who would benefit from the false exemption. I have the before and after, much like that official city file that was modified on January 3rd of this year to the benefit of our landlord. At least one of those Dinah reversed cases sits with the current director, Chiron Richardson, right now. That means he has firsthand experience that he too can reverse determinations. You will hear about one of those cases later. I wouldn't be surprised if the new director isn't even aware of communications I have with his signature on them from mid-December of last year. Actually, he told me today he has no knowledge of that document. Signed communications from Dinah Hendon's replacement around the time you were guided to tell us about the closed meeting with Dinah, who we already knew would be replaced a month before your closed meeting was to occur. You do have the power to investigate. Someone will investigate. We've been trying to bring information forward to force, you know who, to feel enough pressure to let all of you do what's right. I do have some new hope. Today, Director Richardson gave me permission to say the following. He agreed to evaluate 2 new petitions, one for each building de novo, where he will make his own determination. To this, he said, absolutely. I thank him for that. The case will be made in one line per the letter from Commissioner Romano. Kindly reply with proof of a timely filing or your lawful determination that my building has never had an exemption to rent control. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.26, Suzanne.
Hi, everyone. To remind you, my name is Suzanne DeFelice, and I'm a resident of the Portside East Tower. My rent went up an unconscionable 24.5% last August. First, I would like to thank Councilman Sala for his bravery and courage to not only take on Ordinance 260 and the rigged lack of enforcement by Mayor Phillip and the city, but also for his public statements he made on the Hudson County View and for his updates at our last meeting. We are now at a point where the Hudson County Commissioner has also stated publicly that we should be rent controlled based off the facts that no such filing was ever submitted by Equity in order to be exempt from rent control. Additionally, it is now known that Director Richardson has the ability to rule on 2 new petitions from Portside Towers. It is clear that he should rule under Ordinance 260 that the entire community of Portside Towers should be rent controlled. Director Richardson, will you please follow through on your public duty and enforce rent control? This is a real state of emergency. I mean, I can't even believe some of the speakers I have heard who have kids who have to constantly move around, who are spending more than half their income on rent just to solely live in the place. Forget the electricity bills, the water bills, the inflation that is causing prices to rise on everything. I mean, this is bad for the future of the country. When my savings are just going like this. Half of my income goes to paying just to sleep in my bed every night. This is not good for, the future years to come when you have so many people going through this, facing this crisis. Enough is enough. I understand that there is a lot of pressure and I can only imagine the few at the top who are raking in the money from this, but we need you guys to be heroes. Like, I don't know what some of you on this side think, and that's fine right now, but like, we need you all to be heroes for us. No filing, no exemption. Furthermore, I would like to call for the council support for right to counsel so all Jersey City residents, no matter their financial standing, can have legal representation when dealing with housing issues. Even when residents have the ability to take a case to court, they often cannot bear the financial burden, and this gives an easy win to the landlord. The landlords are all winning, raking in money. Like, enough is enough. Lastly, to the council, I urge you to please adopt the form that was created by our team and that has been shared with you that clearly determines if a building should be rent controlled. To the public, if you want to join our fight, please email rentcontroljc@gmail.com and follow us on Twitter @rentcontroljc. Thank you.
You.
As we
Means
move.
I have no time. That's good.
I notice if I reset it as it's binging, it just doesn't stop. I apologize for that. All right, our next speaker, Sean, 5.27.
Dear Madam President and council members, my name is Sean Payton and I live at Portside Towers. At the last city council meeting, I let you know that I'm a retired Navy veteran. Being a Navy veteran is no small thing. Less than 1% of the United States population wears the uniform. I know Mayor Fulop has worn the uniform. I worked hard to protect this country that I love. I know that you too decided to serve as a council member because of love for your city and its residents. But I must tell you, I am being financially squeezed and I expect more from this force sitting before me and administration that you represent. Over the last few city council meetings, we've asked Mayor Fulop, where's your outrage that the laws of your city are not being enforced? And still, there's only been silence. Don't forget that while it's Portside tenants who started this rent control movement, the implications of what happens and whether the law is upheld in our case will reach beyond 100 Warren and 155 Washington Streets. The reality is that my fellow tenants and I would never have been in the position we are in if Chapter 260 had been enforced all along. Allowing landlords to behave as if they have the lawful exemption has really taken a toll on the tenants of Jersey City. Mayor Fulop touted in 2018 that he was going to tighten up enforcement of the rent control law. And while it's unfortunate that Dinah Hendon did not fulfill her duties, which require enforcement of Chapter 260, Pastor Chiron Richardson now has an opportunity to bring justice to tenants of this city. Pastor Richardson, please know that we have been trying to tell you that what was done to us was wrong. Please know that the form that was created to guide the user to a lawful determination about whether a building is subject to rent control was based on months of research and consultation with legal minds. It is a good form, and we are waiting to learn when it will be adopted by the city. Tenants have been through enough. Do not leave us hanging. Adopt them. It's time that the city works with tenants to problem solve and to get its house in order. Finally, I stand with Rights to Cancel. Please make their proposal a reality. Put on your city council uniform and serve for justice, what's lawful and for love of your people. Follow us on Twitter at rentcontroljc or email us at rentcontroljc@gmail.com. Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.28, Anna Davies. Not here, Kate. Thank you. Next speaker, 5.29, Thomas Conroy.
Council members, my name is Tom Conroy and I've been a resident of Portside Towers for over 15 years. I submitted my petition for illegal rent increase by Portside on May 31st, 2022, almost 9 months ago, and still no one has followed through. No filing, no exemption. Now let's talk about something Equity actually did file. I have 3 different annual landlord registration statements submitted to Jersey City by Equity for 155 Washington Street for the years 2020, 2021, and 2022, in which Equity itself said the building is under rent control. Based on these filings by Equity and accepted by Jersey City's Office of Housing, my rent increase from 2021 to 2022 should not have gone up over $900, but rather $159. My rent increase for 2022 to 2023 should not have gone up almost $500, but rather $166. Excuse me. That means I was overcharged almost $800 a month for 2022 and $1,269 for 2023. In total, for those 2 years, I was overcharged $24,823. Now, I believe that we're also entitled for treble damages, which is 3 times that amount, or $74,470. Why treble damages? Because not only was Equity guilty of wrongdoing, but they committed the act deliberately, knowing it was wrong. And I question now, will Jersey City actually also have to pay because you allowed this to happen? Don't think equity won't turn on you. Equity's trying to screw us over. They're trying to screw over our porters and our doormen. They're going to turn on you. So be prepared and have your budget ready. Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.30, Sylvia.
Good evening. My name is Sylvia Meyer. I've lived at Portside Towers with my family since 2018. In just 4 years, my rent has increased by 28%. Not surprising, considering that Jersey City has become the most expensive city to rent in the whole United States. Higher than the Silicon Valley, higher than Manhattan itself, and we now start to understand why. The waterfront has become an extremely profitable industry. It is now almost entirely owned by billionaires who have been dictating their ways up to these extremes without anyone ever questioning their businesses or practices. Well, we're here to say enough. We've had enough. There are laws, and these need to be enforced. The relationship between some of Jersey City officials and these billionaires is detrimental to its own residents, its own constituents, its own voters. We have now found evidence that these same officials have been intentionally working against us and in favor of equity and its friends. But we are stepping up and are now having good hope that things will change soon. So we are urging you again tonight to help us enforce Ordinance 260. We need your help. We need transparency. We want open meetings to review the standardized form we've created 6 weeks ago. We want a vote to approve a standardized rent control assessment. And we need a timeline whereby the council reports on the progress and informs on what will be done by the next council meeting. We need you to step up and help us enforce your own regulations and represent the people of Jersey City. This is what you were elected for. Speak up for us. Speak up with us. Stand up for what's right to protect your constituents and secure there are no more honest tenants being pushed out of the city by unreasonable and unlawful rent increases. For everyone interested in joining the fight, you can find us on Twitter at rentcontrolgc or send us an email at rentcontroljc@gmail.com. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.31, Rita.
Madam President, council members, I'd like to start by thanking you for renewing our hope. In the last council meeting, you brought a shimmer of light with the proposal that you're looking to push forward. We hope that you will do everything within your power to fix the non-enforcement of rent control by ultimately modifying Ordinance 260 to include the use of the standardized form our team created, calling for transparent rent control database, and to call for an open meeting to review the form and any other ordinances. We hope this will also include voting to approve the standardized rent control assessment. We're also requesting a timeline whereby the council reports the progress at each council meeting and informs us what they plan to accomplish by the next meeting. To Mayor Fulop, I truly regret that I voted for you. I fell for your rhetoric during your campaigning that you were a mayor for all of us, that you had had enough. What I've come to understand from what our team has uncovered is that you're a mayor for what is profitable and what is in your best interest. We, sir, are now the ones who've had enough. Your promise for a better city has put me out on the street, and soon there will be others if Chapter 260 is not enforced. Our team has proved that Portside never filed for an exemption 30 days prior to construction. Our landlord signed, subject to punishment, that our building are subject to rent control, but somehow I received a 25% increase on my renewal. Dina Handon acknowledged last May that our buildings were subject to rent control, but yet still nothing's been done. To remind you, sir, renters make up 72% of our city. You can be sure that you will not be receiving my vote for governor, nor from my family or my friends or those of us who make up that 72%. You, sir, are not a man of your word. To Pastor Richardson, I pray that you are a man of your word, a man of God who knows what's right and wrong. I'm appealing to you to follow the law as you were hired to do. Many folks are suffering with the lack of reinforcement. My sister and I were Portside residents for 18 years. We never paid our rent late, never complained about anything. Our reward was a 25% increase with no room to negotiate. We were told that they had to look out for their investors. Then who looks out for us? You, sir, you're the one hired to look out for us. Please do the right thing. Many of us are still holding out for a hope that righteousness still exists. To our Jersey City neighbors, if you question whether your building is exempt from rent control, please contact us at rentcontroljc@gmail.com and follow us on Twitter at rentcontroljc. No filing, no exemption.
Next speaker, 5.32, Manya.
Evening, my name is Munya Ediboin, RAYDIBOYM. I represent here a tenants organization at 100 Montgomery Street.
Please put the mic towards you. There you go.
It is?
Yes.
Okay, 100 Montgomery Street has own tenants organization. And I'm president within already 11 years. What brought me here? I cannot describe how cynical are management and how cynical are some of us. First of all, I'm talking about my councilman, Solomon. How can we live in these circumstances? I received 3 notices of upcoming eviction, filled with lies. I received a letter, they will sue me if I was talking about corruption. Why they allow themselves behaving this way? Because political circumstances, because of this mood which demonstrates some of you. I'm greatly regret that I was voting for you, James. It's absolutely big mistake. How you can provide Christmas party in our building, December 20th, and only certain people know about your presence in the building. When I approached community room, management said, you have to go. What is it? And finally, this toxic environment grew up to announcement that I'm racist. It's impossible to believe in these circumstances. Along with this retaliation, I received the offer to cut my rent 78%. What else will you have to have in your hand to prove that it's unacceptable situation? That's why I'm asking the council person at large, I'm asking Ms. Waterman to set up ethical committee in this body. It's absolutely strange how they behave. I have to also note one last thing, despite I have to a lot of.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.33, Judith. Not here. Thank you. 5.34, Jessica. Not here. Jessica Roslow. Sorry. Next, 5.35, Sonia.
Good evening. My name is Sonja Kirschner. Thank you for your time again. Last time I spoke here, I was talking about democracy, and that's where I would like to tie in today. I live in the West Tower, at Portside, my apartment is now under rent control. It would be easy to say, why do I care about the East Tower? Why do I care about 100 Montgomery? Not even my city seems to care. But that's not the case for all of us here. Why? Because we all know that powerful billionaires still do whatever they want. And that is only for our initiative that the West Tower is now under rent control where it should have been for the last 30 years, like the East Tower and many other buildings in Jersey City. So obviously we are not done here. Many people are still receiving outrageous and unlawful rent increases that often force them out of their homes. Solidarity is one major element for the people to enforce democracy. Today, I once again demand justice for us all. No filing, no exemption. And I like one step back and remind you of the living conditions in our building. We have cockroaches, we have frequent false fire alarms, we have leaks, and so much more. Just last Sunday, we had 2 false fire alarms, one at 5 a.m. and one at 8 a.m. in the West Tower. It's horrible not to know that if our lives are really in danger or not. And we have that feeling on an ongoing basis at Portside Towers. So really nothing at Portside really justifies any rent increase at all. I want you to be aware that this is how far we've come. We are celebrating increases of only 4% in often unbearable living conditions. That's simply crazy to me. And in my opinion, only possible because the city administration has allowed landlords for decades to position themselves above the law. Once again, you all and Pastor Richardson have the power to fix this. The first petitions at Portside were filed in May last year. I'm asking all of you, what have you personally done since then to set the record straight? If your answer is nothing, then I sincerely ask you, what will you do in the next 2 weeks until we reconvene here? I know that at least one of you doesn't have to answer nothing to my question. Thank you, Councilman Saleh, for publicly taking the side of all Jersey City tenants on Hudson County View last week and for putting some boundaries out there. You rightly stated that landlords are not above the law.
Thank you.
No one is in a democracy.
Thank you, son. Next speaker, 5.36, Dina.
Good evening, council members. Once again, we find ourselves spending our evening with you. I'm sure the council and the administration have taken note that we're pretty successful in spreading the word. Since attending our first council meeting on November 9th last year when Kevin and Michelle spoke, and then fast forward, not just this evening, but counting the last meeting on January 25th when we had over 20 speakers, our reach is spreading from Portside to other buildings in Jersey City and extending from tenant union activities, supporting labor unions, and now right to council. Clearly, the issues that we stand behind for rent control, right to council, enforcement of Chapter 260 for Portside, these things matter for over 72% of the residents of Jersey City who are renters. These issues for which we're advocating are hitting home for this constituency of voters. Pardon the pun. With the growth in our numbers and voices, there's also increased media coverage across platforms. And this is just the beginning. We're not going anywhere. The evenings are going to get later. Publicity is going to get more broader. As exhausting and time-consuming as our efforts have been, we are encouraged. And we have seen small incremental movements forward in a positive direction, some of which we've heard tonight. Thank you to the council members, especially Council Member Saleh, who spoke up on our behalf publicly. Huge thank you to the Commissioner Romano for taking a strong stand to do what's right. And thank you to Director Richardson for agreeing to take a fresh look at the new submittals. A couple of things that we've pointed out in terms of an issue that was noted at the last council meeting, that someone changed the official document related to annual landlord registration statement. There is a digital record of this change, and we are calling for an investigation into that changing of the form. We will continue to follow up on this issue and are urging some action to address this change. We're also following up on the proposed implementation of the standardized rent control assessment form as an addendum. This was submitted a few weeks ago, and we were told that the process takes approximately 6 weeks. So we would like to follow up on that and see if we can get updates to it in the following council meetings. And finally, once again, please enforce Chapter 260, no filing, no exemption. Please follow us on Twitter at rentcontroljc and email us at rentcontroljc@gmail.com.
Our next speaker, 5.37, Sankitha.
Good evening, council members. My name is Sankitha Subramanian, and I'm here with my son. With a heavy heart, I stand before you today to shed light on the injustices faced by tenants like myself at the hands of equity management. My son and I were forced to leave our home at Portside Tower, a place we had called home for 4 years. The unbearable increase in rent left us with no option but to vacate the premises. But the cruelty did not stop there. They went as far as to file a civil action case against me for non-payment of rent, a false accusation that I have already provided evidence against. This is not just a violation of my rights as the tenant, but a violation of the very law that are meant to protect us. As a single mother with a middle schooler, I was vulnerable and at the mercy of equity apartment. The unreasonable increase in rent, unresponsiveness to any communication attempts from my side, and illegal handling of the lease agreement without providing proper notice are unacceptable and must be addressed. I implore this council to take immediate action to protect tenants from such atrocities in the future. We as tenants deserve to live in a safe and fair environment, free from fear of being mistreated and taken advantage of. Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.38, Elena.
Good evening, City Council members. My name is Elena Little. I'm here tonight to stand in solidarity with the tenants of Portside Towers and other tenants across the city and demand that Jersey City enforce its rent control ordinance 260. I'm also here to call for a strong right to counsel ordinance for tenants. Right to counsel has a proven track record of helping people stay in their homes in other cities. We've seen it work. And not only from a human rights perspective, but also from a budgetary perspective, it is always better to keep someone in their home than to have them become homeless. A study in Massachusetts found that for every dollar spent on right to counsel, $2.40 would be saved in direct costs associated with homelessness. So this policy is truly a win-win for renters, small homeowners, and the city budget. The only people it's not a win for are bad actor corporate landlords. Second, it's important that this program is fully funded and that there aren't income limits on which tenants are eligible for right to counsel. We don't know who is fighting cancer, who has a special needs child, or has hundreds of thousands of dollars in student debt. If a tenant needs legal counsel, that should be enough. Finally, it's important that this right to counsel extend beyond only eviction cases. For example, what if the apartment is uninhabitable? I can speak from personal experience. In my previous apartment in Jersey City, we had a pipe break and water coming up through our floorboards. They needed to rip out and replace at least 2/3 of the floor in the unit. I'm extremely fortunate that my landlord took an empty unit that they had off the market and let us stay in it for the weeks that our apartment was uninhabitable. But this is far from a guarantee. Another apartment I lived in Jersey City was run by a highly uncooperative management company and could only be reached between 9:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. on weekdays. There was no on-site super or after-hours number. Bottom line, housing is a human right, and we can't rely on getting lucky and having a responsive landlord. That's why a strong right to counsel for all tenants is so important. Portside Towers here tonight is another great example. These tenants have needed to take months out of their lives to fight this illegal rent hike. They've already been charged thousands of dollars in excess rent because Jersey City hasn't been enforcing Rent Control Ordinance 260. Why should they also be on the hook for legal fees just because their corporate landlord has decided to ignore our laws? So I asked Jersey City to pass a strong right to counsel. I asked Jersey City to enforce Rent Control Ordinance 260. No filing, no exemption. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.39, Ron.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ron Bautista. I'm running for Hudson County Commissioner for District 5, and I'm here again to ask city officials to enforce rent control and enact tenant protections, including a right to legal representation for tenants. I want to start by acknowledging the gesture of Commissioner Romano in his letter in support of rent control. While it is appreciated, it is important to recognize the difference between a gesture and a commitment. I stand here today as an advocate committed to tenant protections, including the enforcement of current rent control laws. The non-enforcement of rent control in Jersey City has been a persistent issue throughout Commissioner Romano's tenure. It is no secret that the current administration, including Mayor Fulop and Commissioner Romano, are part of a political machine that has put tenants in this situation, with everyday people having to come make their case at every city council meeting for months. But where have Mayor Fulop and Commissioner Romano been during these months? Where are they right now, actually? All I see is the results of their priorities. And despite the law, the city has failed to enforce the rent control laws that are supposed to protect all tenants. So I ask all of our neighbors to look around, pay attention to the actions of those in power, including the city council, and see who is standing for what is right and who's not here at all. And to the city council, we're looking forward to hearing how the solutions are coming along. Thank you so much.
Next, 5.40, Jessica Braun.
Good evening. Hello, City Council. Thank you again for the honor of speaking before you. And I'm here again today. This is my fifth time, maybe sixth. I don't know. I lost count for many reasons. First, to make clear that I stand in solidarity with the right to counsel effort behind me. Right to counsel addresses our fundamental rights of due process, and we as Americans do assert a belief in personal liberty and equality of justice for all, and enacting right to counsel affirms this core American value. And if a statute or ordinance is not being enforced, as we have discussed at length since we first started speaking here at City Council, it is our right to insist for enforcement. And if that is still willfully ignored by local municipalities, go to court to assure enforcement. Most of the time, this kind of effort does fail at the individual level because of its financial impact on that individual or the deep pockets of developers. And that simply is not right. Everyone has a right to insist that the law is followed as written. Otherwise, what's the point of the law? A point I've made before. And an individual shouldn't have to start a thousands-person strong movement, complete with press coverage, to gain some traction on their issue. And at this point, we are thousands strong. I am here also again today to make clear we're calling for transparency and enactment of a standardized form for evaluation of the rent control exemption requests. And this is not complicated. And if someone tells you it is, it's because they're hiding something. I'm here again today to make clear that I stand in solidarity with my fellow Jersey City renters. No filing, no exemption. As we've said, we at Portside Towers stand with 39 Corneliuson Avenue, 60 Van Rypen Avenue, 76 St. Paul's Avenue, 148 First Street, and many more to come. All of these are locations in Jersey City where a claim of exemption to rent control was not filed prior to completion of construction, which is required by the New Jersey statute in Jersey City Ordinance 260. I call for anyone with knowledge of quid pro quo with the builders and buyers of Portside, Applied, and the Barry family and Equi Residential to contact us at rentcontroljc@gmail.com. Lastly, I'll say it is always the right time to do the right thing and to follow our Twitter account at rentcontroljc. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.41, Ray. Is Ray here? Son. No, thank you. 5.42, Denise. Evelyn.
My name is Denise Devlin, and I support all the proposals to help preserve affordable and safe housing in Jersey City, including a right to counsel for any tenant facing eviction or living in unlawful conditions. But unfortunately, it's not just unscrupulous landlords that residents have to fear. The city's failure to apply and enforce existing rent control ordinances is contributing to our affordable housing crisis. How many middle and working class families have been forced to leave our community because current laws are disregarded or worse? I'm grateful to the Portside residents for bringing this to the public's attention. And they are not alone in having rent control protections denied to them. I moved into my current apartment in 1999. It was under rent control at the time. When rumors circulated that the building, which was an 1890 tenement on Sussex Street, was for sale and no longer under rent control, I contacted the City Office of Tenant Landlord Relations to learn the status. Then Director Hendon informed me that the city had granted a rent control exemption based on the claim that the building had been converted from a non-permanent dwelling to use as a dwelling on or after October 1st, 1983. However, it was obvious that this building was always an apartment building. The documents from my Oprah requests confirmed this. They included 1982 Board of Adjustment minutes, decades of rent rolls, and the 1982 historical certification application, again, all confirming that this was a conversion from a 20-unit apartment building to a 15-unit apartment building. The only evidence to the contrary was provided by the landlord. An affidavit from the building property manager that stated that he knew someone who said that one time the building was a rooming house. The most surprising document was a string of emails between the Director of Tenant Landlord Relations, Charles O'Day, who preceded Hendon, and the landlord's representative. O'Day concluded that 108 Sussex Street was always an apartment building. I contacted my elected officials, and while sympathetic, they told me that they couldn't really assist me and that what I needed to do was to hire an attorney. I did that along with other tenants in my building. Our petitions have been submitted and we await a decision from tenant landlord. I think our case is strong, but this exemption should never have been issued.
Thank you.
Denise. Denise.
Hold on.
Denise. Hi, Denise. Me. I was born and raised in 108 Sussex Street
Oh, is that right?
till I was 11 years old.
Oh,
I missed that. I missed that. I lived in the top floor, so you brought me back memories.
It's still.
We were the ones who did that X and PS16 so we could play stickball. And if you hit the building across the street in the windows, it's a home run, but you have to break the window so it could be a home run. We were those kids. Thank you for that. I don't think that's accurate information.
Okay, our next speaker, 5.43, Michelle.
Hi, good evening. I have a great speech, but I don't think I'm going to read from it right now. I've heard a couple of my tenant neighbors and other people in the room ask for an open meeting. You were provided with a form that would make it very easy for the user to determine whether or not a building is subject to rent control. I personally would like an update on what's happening with that form. I'm calling for an open meeting to discuss it. I'm calling for an open meeting on any other actions that are currently underway that you can report on to the tenants of Jersey City or anyone else who wants to come to the open meeting. I'm asking you now, instead of me reading you my speech, to please make a commitment for an open meeting. Can somebody please do something? This is not staged, by the way.
I was gonna give you an update as far as the open meeting. I defer to the clerk and corporation counsel as to how to go about doing that or what the proper procedures are. So I'll just give the update regarding the form and all of the laws we're looking into as a council. There's a meeting tomorrow with the corporation council to go over it. I know we gave them some time to review it, so it's at 10 a.m. tomorrow, and I'll hopefully have a more substantive update regarding what we can proceed with and what we might have to do a little more research or advocacy on, on different levels. Like I said, some of it might require state involvement regarding the form. I don't want to jump the gun and say it's going to be an easy lift, but I'm gonna, if it's possible to do, we'll do it. Okay, or that's my commitment to you that we'll put it forward. And corporation counsel regarding an open meeting.
Yeah, we can follow up on that. I don't know if they're discussing a community meeting, a different type of open meeting, but we can follow up and see what we would be able to do.
Okay. You, me, Kevin, anyone else that wants to join? If you want to talk offline and sidebar about what kind of meeting you're looking for, and then, all right?
Thank you.
You got it.
Thank you. All right, with my 36 seconds that are left, I would like to say that Right to Counsel's work will bring equity to the tenants of the city. Please make their proposal a reality. Also, I appreciate Councilman Salay's announcements during the January 25th meeting, including the creation of a public rent control database. Finally, please follow us on Twitter at rentcontroljc or email us at rentcontroljc@gmail.com. We'll be glad to share with the public whatever we learn at the open meeting. Thank you very much.
Okay, our next speaker, 5.44, Cameron. Cameron.
Hello. So I'm here to say basically enforce 260 and pass right to council. Supposedly we live in a democracy, but really I think we're still struggling toward that. Because when election campaigns are funded mainly by the rich, when the law is slanted in favor of the rich, and when the judges and legal system is all slanted in favor of the rich, and then when tenants have to face up against their landlords in court, legal representation is a matter of the best that money can buy. By itself, that already creates a situation that makes landlords emboldened to break the laws that exist and tenants reluctant to defend the rights they have, including the right to organize. And clearly, the situation at Portside Towers is a case in point. The fact that tenants are here tonight to demand its enforcement, I'm repeating myself. The right to vote, the right to form a union, and the right to representation in court is still an unfinished struggle. And right to counsel is just one step on the fight toward equality, and we can do it. We have the resources. It's called tax the rich, tax landlords. New York has set a good example for the rest of us in New Jersey. So let's follow their example and pass right to counsel here too, so that anytime a tenant faces their landlord in any kind of legal proceedings, they can at least have legal representation that's just as good as the representation their landlord bought. And for everyone listening, go to right to counsel jc.org or rtcjc.org and sign the petition to take action and build tenant power. Housing is a right. Evictions are the leading cause of homelessness. They are violent, and so is raising the rent. Pass RTC, enforce rent control. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, 5.45, Osborne.
Good evening, members of the City Council. My name is Osbert Orduña, and I'm here tonight speaking to you as a concerned cannabis business owner, a taxpayer, and a person who is directly responsible for creating 50 union construction and cannabis jobs in Jersey City. In August of 2021, this body passed the Jersey City Cannabis Ordinance number 21-053. It clearly set the parameters for where and how close cannabis businesses can operate. As some of you may recall, we received our municipal council resolution from this body and our pin on the Jersey City cannabis map after having completed the publicly published process for a Class 5 dispensary applicant. After attending last night's planning board meeting, specifically related to application number P22-134, I am here tonight to share information with you and the public that can be verified via last night's Zoom recording. First off, the planning board is required to operate within the legal realm of the municipal land use law and the ordinances of Jersey City. There cannot be two sets of rules. Our Black and brown communities for far too long have borne the brunt of over-policing, disparate treatment, and measures to silence and contain us. To be clear, the New Jersey Supreme Court is very clear with regard to the time of application rule. It ruled that an application is only complete when all required documents are submitted for review, including all documents mandated under a municipal ordinance in their entirety for the time clock to start. My biggest shock yesterday came not from the misinterpretation of case law, but from the planning board staff stating that an application, in addition to having secured municipal approval, needed to pull permits for the pin on the map to count. And in essence, that the municipal approval from the city council was not the final deciding factor in the municipal process. Mr. Ward clearly said, we will respect buffers at the times permits are pulled. Ladies and gentlemen, nowhere in the municipal ordinance that you, the regulatory body created for this city, does it say such a thing. Nowhere does it say that the final step in the process for when a pin on the map actually carries any weight is the pulling of permits. The final step per the ordinance is receiving of municipal approval from this body and this body alone. Planning staff made mention to the commissioners regarding their adopting of the pulling of permits as some sort of final arbiter of this process. I ask each of you to think for a second if you have ever heard or seen this memorialized anywhere, because if you're shaking your head no, I too could not find any written record, memorandum, or posting by the planning department anywhere that stated for the public that in order for a municipally approved business with a pin on the map to be considered as having crossed the finish line in this process, that they had to pull permits. The CRC does not recognize the pulling of permits. It recognizes the municipal approval as the correct and final voice of the municipality. Please stop the reinterpreting of this process and uphold the letter of the law and the ordinance that you passed. I am a Marine. No one will silence my voice. And advocacy for the rule of law and for standing for what right is what I'm here to do. I am proud to make good trouble and to help each one teach.
Thank you, sir.
By educating everyone in this room as to what the ordinance
Thank you.
clearly states. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.46, Harshita.
Good evening, City Council members and staff. My name is Harshita Das, and I've been a resident of the Beacon Apartments in Jersey City since May 2021. Today, I'm here to talk about placing traffic cameras at the intersection of Columbus Drive and Marin Boulevard. This intersection is one of the busiest in the area, partly due to its location in downtown Jersey City. And throughout my time as a resident in Jersey City, I have witnessed and heard of several instances of reckless driving occurring at this intersection. One example I would like to share here is my own experience yesterday on February 7th, when at approximately 6:25 p.m. Eastern Time, I was almost struck and killed by a speeding silver SUV that ran the red light going south on Marin Boulevard at that very intersection, going over 60 miles an hour while I was walking on the pedestrian crossing while the walk sign was on. This experience has been extremely traumatizing for me, and I did report this as a case of reckless driving to law enforcement. And I also have the confirmation slip that I received from the authorities for the same. Given how many residents of our city cross this intersection regularly, I believe it is in the best interest of our residents to install traffic cameras at this location to record such dangerous and reckless driving incidents. This would help our law enforcement agencies to take appropriate action against such drivers and ultimately make this intersection safer for everybody. And that concludes my remarks. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.47, Yvonne Buddington.
Good evening, councils. My name is Yvonne Buddington. I served the City of Jersey City School Traffic Guards for 25 years and 1 month. On November 28th of 2022, it was stated that for the retroactive, the money went through. On December 22 of 2022, it was the crossing guards received a retro, but the retirees did not receive it. I was told by Union District that on January the 6th of 23, that we received our retroactive. We didn't receive it. On January 20th of 2023, I was told that we was going to receive it, and nothing has not been received. The union meeting was February 1st, which was canceled. Then on February 8th, the meeting was canceled again. I was told by a former crossing guard to attend the city council meeting, and that's why I'm here today. I don't know which way to go, who to turn to, who to talk to. I went to City Hall, went to personnel. They told me to go to, HR told me to go to payroll. Went to payroll. Payroll said that they don't have anything to do with it. Went to Jones Square, One Plaza. They also told me they don't have anything to do with it. They told me to talk to the union rep, which is Santos. He told me that I had to wait and stuff and everything. And 7 years with no, I was working with the city within them 7 years with no contract. We work rain, sleet, and snow, no retro. And I don't know what's going on, and I just want my money because I worked them 7 years with no contract. So I'm here today to see which way to turn and which way to go.
Do the administration know the difference between the retro pay for retirees versus current employees?
Off the top of my head, no, but I can get the information from the council as well as, you know, who they should contact and how we can get that if there is a discrepancy like that.
Thanks. So we'll be in contact with you, Yvonne.
Thank you.
She gave it to her.
Thank you. Good evening.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker, 5.48, I don't believe she's here, Diane Hughes. And our next speaker, 5.49, Stephanie Daniels, I don't believe she's here either.
Both of them are.
5.50, Matt Chabon.
Good evening, council persons and representatives. I was late to the courthouse and I wanted to speak for a moment to that. I just hope that everyone here will work. I'm really excited that that passed, as I understand it, right? But I think there's a huge opportunity here to really look at the entire neighborhood, right? And think about a comprehensive open space plan. You know, what are we going to do with Newark? What are we going to do with Central? You know, there's all this construction going on. It's really disrupting things. It shows how the traffic patterns can change and life goes on. And so we would love to see our share of public plazas like they've got downtown here. And I think there's some real opportunities with all the shops there to maybe look at changing some of those traffic patterns. If you look at famous Times Square, right? People were like, oh, how can you close Broadway, right? Five Corners. I know it's like an iconic name and everything, but I'd love us to, you know, I've mentioned this for public meetings before. I'd love us really to reconsider a new Five Corners that's actually four corners and could really speed up traffic if all of those lights were 50-50 Summit Pavonia, 50-50 Newark and Summit instead of this three-way traffic. It actually creates much more opportunities for the traffic to move through quickly and creates opportunities for pedestrian plazas, better shopping, lots of great opportunities there. And in line with that, I'd also like to speak to Councilwoman DeGise. I understand, you know, there were some changes to your license status recently. I really hope I came to a meeting a couple months ago and I said, if you wouldn't be stepping down, please step up and become an advocate for safe streets in the city, even more than I know you already are. And I hope maybe you can get out there on a bike, get out there and walk more and really take in the city the way that most of our residents do. As you probably know, we're number 3 or 4 on the list for the least car ownership in the country, only behind New York, Washington, and Newark. So that's how a lot of us live here in the city. And I think it would be great to, you know, get your support for initiatives like this to really more bike lanes, more pedestrian plazas, and a more pleasant, less car-centric form of life here in Jersey City. So thank you all.
Thank you. Next speaker, 5.51, Fran Donovan. Not here. Okay, next 5.52, Tanya Golden.
Council, I'm Tanya Golden. I'm second vice president of the local 246. I'm simply here because last meeting, I went back and I told people from the local 246 that the city said they would fix our issue without pay. That didn't happen. Our vacation sick, it's a mess at this point. People are not sure of what days they have. Our street cleaners, we have 12 because 2 are additional workers that help us with street cleaning. We had 5 that showed up yesterday. The other 7 called out. We need our money. We are, once again, we are the lowest paid, and we bring the city a lot of money. We have broken down scooters. It's unbearable, and people are not getting paid. Something needs to be done about this. You can't tell people or send emails stating, do not call payroll. You know, things happen. We don't want to hear that because we have bills to pay. Again, I'm a widow and I'm paying for my home alone, and the city's not paying me. And for me to work on a Sunday, which I said at the last meeting, I would rather be in church. I worked Sunday and I didn't get paid. So I need to know what's going to happen with our pay. What are you going to do for your people? I'm a city employee. I live in the city and there's no money. But yet you have beautiful buildings everywhere. I voted for some of you. I walked with some of you. So I'm asking you now to do your due diligence for your people, your workers. Do something for us. We don't want to just hear talk. We need action. I need something done. I would like to go back and tell my coworkers, yes, your COVID money is coming in. Your paycheck is going to be fixed. But again, I will be selling them dreams like we've been hearing from the council. I need something done. I need someone to reach out to parking enforcement, traffic officers we are now. So you can do all of this stuff. You can pay us. And I thank you. I'm sorry I'm looking at you a little bit unclear because my eyes were dilated. So I really don't see any of you. But thank you very much.
Thank you. And our last speaker, 5.53, Shimon. Not here?
Hey, John, do we, I was under the impression, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the issues from the first payroll have been solidified, taken care of, people were, paid their back pay, and it also was paid for any inconvenience, i.e. surcharges, late mortgage payments, and things of that nature.
Yeah, Councilman, as long as it was submitted to the city, if they didn't get it to us yet, we didn't give it to them. There are still a few paychecks that we're catching up on hours, but there's nobody that didn't receive any pay. And as far as the COVID money and stuff, that's in litigation right now, so we can't really discuss it. And you know, we're doing our best to make sure that, you know, we're almost 100%. It's isolated to one department, and as you've seen in this third pay period, it's been less of an issue. There are some few hours of overtime, mainly that are still outstanding, but it's not to the effect that nobody's getting paid.
And what's the turnaround of correction once the administration receive the discrepancies from the employee?
It's within the next pay period. So like if someone submits a discrepancy today, they're not going to get it this week. They would be the following pay period. So we reversed everything from the first pay period in the second and the third, and then anything for the third will be in the fourth.
So it's your statement that everyone who have made a grievance with the administration as it relates to pay in 2023, those situations, at least from the first two pay periods, have been rectified according to the time metric we're using.
Well, I wouldn't speculate and say the grievance, because there's some union grievances about rate of pay that could be challenged in court. So I'm not going to say as far as a grievance perspective, but what I could say is that each claim has been reviewed and they're going to be solidified within a pay period of the next. And with regards to the collection of sick and vacation days, those are always done the first pay period of February. So that'll be the next pay period. Full pay period of February.
And who should they reach out to directly? Because they're saying that if they're reaching out to this department saying they're not responsible. They're saying they reached out to them. They don't got nothing to do with it. Some people feel like, you know, their job security is in jeopardy because they're.
That's completely inaccurate, Councilman. We have a process that some employees have not followed, but there's a process in which they contact HR through an HR email. That becomes a case number, and then the case number is reviewed independently by the team that we put together. So, I mean, if they call a clerk in an office and say that their time wasn't right, it's not going to get to the appropriate authority. So, and we've notified the unions of this as well.
Okay, council members. So, no, sorry. I'm sorry, you cannot. We're on to our petitions and communications, items 6.1 through 6.33. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, on to our Office of Communications, 7.1 through 7.2. Any questions or comments? We have no report of directors. Council members, I'm going to be taking a vote on claims and addendums number 1, 2, and 3. Again, that's claims and addendums number 1, 2, and 3. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon. Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise. And Council President Pro Temp Rivera.
Aye.
Claims and addendums number 1, 2, and 3 are approved 8-0 with Council President Waterman absent. Okay, on to our resolutions. Council members are going to be taking a vote on items 10.1 through 10.15, but I believe with the exception of 10.10, just to confirm with our business administrator that we're going to be withdrawing 10.10.
That's correct.
That's correct.
Okay. So council members, we're taking a vote on items 10.1 through 10.15 with the exception of 10.10, which has been withdrawn. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye for all.
Councilperson Baggiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
I'm going to vote no on 10.1. This is the second major item that we are massively increasing the budget for. First it was health insurance, and now it's tipping fees, and those are 12-month bills that we should know and be able to track, and not have to take money out of crucial activities and put back in there. And then I'm going to vote aye on all the rest.
Thank you. Councilperson Gilmore.
I'm gonna vote, aye on all but 10.1. I think the administration, needs to do a better job at giving us, itemized or giving us, reasonable rationales why X amount of money is being moved from one place to another, why the money wasn't, being spent. And then we see a big administrative services for 1.7. There's no specific itemized, list for what that money will be spent on. So I'll vote no on that, and then I'll vote aye on the rest.
So that's no on 10.1 and aye on all the rest, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
And Council President Pro Temp Rivera.
Aye.
Okay, if I can just, if you allow me to recap. Item 10.1 is approved 6-2 with council members Solomon and Gilmore voting no and Council President Waterman absent. Items 10.2 through 10.9 are approved 8-0 with Council President Waterman absent. Items 10.11 through 10.15 are approved 8-0 with Council President Waterman absent. All right, on to our next set of resolutions, items 10.16 through 10.25. Again, council members, that's items 10.16 through 10.25. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye for all.
Councilperson Baggiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye for all.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
And what you going to show?
10.16 to 10.25.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
And Council President Pro Temp Rivera.
Aye. Also, if you guys are gonna be out there, can we close the door and just, we're still conducting business here?
Thank you. So just to recap the vote, items 10.16 through 10.25. Items are approved 8-0 with Council President Waterman absent. On to our next set of resolutions, items 10.26 through 10.38, with the exception of 10.35, just to confirm with the PA that 10.35 has been withdrawn.
Sir.
Thank you, sir. So again, council members, items 10.26 through 10.38, with the exception of 10.35. I'm taking a vote on that. And first, council member Ridley.
Can we just get a little clarity on the cannabis thing? I know it's come up a lot. I got the email, and my summation of the email is that the 600 feet, I guess wording in the ordinance doesn't matter. So can we explain why, I guess, it doesn't matter if these businesses are within 600 feet of each other?
Councilwoman, it's not that it doesn't matter. I can pull it up. regardless, because of due process concerns, they will always give someone a hearing. The 600-foot consideration is considered. There's two different things, the 600-foot and the 1,000-foot. The reason why the 600-foot doesn't come into play until later, it is a zoning requirement. Anybody after a vote on the council, once they're given the vote of support, they would need to obtain a variance afterwards because it is a zoning requirement, but it doesn't go, we will not stop people from having hearings because it doesn't go into effect until the state actually issues the license. So it might never come to be that one of the establishments might never open. So that's why they'll give everyone a hearing and take into consideration the 600 feet. And that's, I know we're going to have more discussions on it, but that's where it's at.
So when we're voting as a council, your suggestion would be for us not to vote based on distance, because that's not really our call.
But I would agree with that, yes.
Okay, so based on that, I think the only arguments with I know one was withdrawn, but I know a lot of them coming up, and I guess I don't think this one in particular, but just to get clarity before I vote on 1034, I'm going to vote aye based on that information. Aye for all.
Thank you. Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye for all.
Councilperson Bajano. Thank you. Councilperson Saleh.
I'm going to vote aye for all regarding 1034. You know, Mike and Brian, congratulations on, setting up shop. I know you guys have been here since pre-COVID, and looking forward to everything you're going to do in the community. Regarding the 600-foot rule, I think I've spoken to a few council members, but I think we should really consider abolishing the 600-foot rule and putting a cap in each ward, because as you can see, we really can't enforce it. And in addition to that, there's really a lack of real estate for dispensaries that are trying to come into the city. And so the third thing is that you look at economic theory, Hotelling's law says that these different dispensaries, or even any product of similar structure, like a burger from Burger King and McDonald's, they're going to be situated very close to each other. That's why you always see the restaurants near each other, because then they'll split half of the marketplace. So I think the 600-foot rule is really arbitrary, and planning might have done that to protect them, but I think the way to really protect cannabis establishments coming into the city is to put a cap, then see next year if we need to increase it in different areas of the city, based on tax assessments and just feedback from the community. But just throwing it out there, letting everyone think about it, and aye for all.
Thank you. Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
I vote aye for all. With regards to 24, that's actually the first time I'm hearing that. That's essentially not within our jurisdiction, if you will, to consider when approving local support. I will say one thing: we need to iron it out and iron it out quick. So I'll vote aye for all.
Okay. You, Councilperson DeGise.
I vote aye on all. I would like to reach out to the law department and see some of their guidance on what the Cannabis Control Board should be doing and better practices. I will say, for anyone looking to put in an application, there are plenty of empty storefronts and businesses on the south side of Jersey City where you're not going to face the distance rule. They're not being oversaturated there. So I invite you to look over in the south side of the city to put your cannabis business.
Thank you. And Council President Pro Temp Rivera.
Aye.
Okay, so if I can just recap, items 10.26 through 10.33 are approved 8-0 with Council President Waterman absent. Item 10.34 is approved 7-1 with Councilperson Bajano voting no and Council President Waterman absent. Items 10.36 through 10.38 are approved 8-0 with Council President Waterman absent. Okay, council members, to the balance of our resolutions for the night, items 10.39 through 10.48. Again, that's items 10.39 through 10.48. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye for all.
Councilperson Bajano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeJeece. And Council President Pro Temp Rivera.
Aye.
Items 10.39 through 10.48 are approved 8-0 with Council President Waterman absent. Council members, if I can ask the magic words, motion to adjourn at
Second.
8:49 PM. The motion to adjourn was made by Council President Pro Temp Rivera, seconded by Councilperson Prinzary. On the motion to adjourn at 8:49 PM, Councilperson Ridley, Councilperson Prinzary, Councilperson Bajano, Councilperson Saleh,
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon, Councilperson Gilmore, Councilperson DeJeece, and Council President Pro Temp Rivera. Motion carries 8-0 with Council President Waterman absent to adjourn at 8:49 PM. Thank you so much, everyone watching at home and everybody here present. Remember, teamwork makes the dream work. Great job by Council President Pro Temp Rivera on handling the meeting for us. Have a good one. Take care. Teamwork makes the dream work. That was.